everybody, welcome to Psychology Flipped. It's Mrs. Clemens once again, and as we always like to say, keep calm, study psychology. All right, guys, so we are in our stress and conflict unit, and so in our last video we were talking about what is stress. Now we're going to talk about some of our reactions to stress, both physical, mental, and psychological. All right, so before we even get into there, we're going to talk about some of our sources of stress. So definitely conflict. Anytime you have to make a decision between two or more options. So some of them, of course, we were just talking about how some, things are negative stressors, distress. So like choosing, I don't know, which arm you're going to get cut off by some sort of weird arm cut off serial killer person. There's a movie on that, isn't there? Or it could be positive, like which Ben & Jerry's are you going to eat? Ah, Ben & Jerry's, I love you. Send me free stuff. Life changes, definitely. Marriage is stressful when you're going from being single to married or going from married to being divorced. Illness, especially, serious illness, a new job, moving. Oh my God, moving is one of the most stressful things in the entire world. And obviously having a death in the family is pretty stressful too. Work is really stressful, and Americans are actually worse than in other countries in terms of us being stressed out about work. We spend more time at work than any other activity, and I like this little picture where, you're like at work dreaming of sleeping, which I do, and then when I'm at home and I'm at sleep, I'm dreaming about working. Good times. And then there's everyday sources that every day we experience. The person that's driving really slow in front of us, the person that's walking really slow in the hall in front of us, the people that are in front of us making out. Just in general, if people are in front of us, maybe. Interesting. All right, so our reactions to stress. Now, this one we're not writing down because there's no animation, but if you want to write it, totally go ahead. So reactions to stress. So here's the basic things that you need to know. There's a wide variety of stress reactions. So just like we were saying in the last video that, what stresses you out might not stress me out, well, the way we react to stress might not be the same either. And so some of them are beneficial, like, the stress that, lets you kind of pick up a car and save the baby, or, harmful, the stress that gives you a heart attack. Some of our responses are just totally automatic, that fight or flight that we talked about when we were talking about the brain and the nervous system. We all react differently, and that there's basically 3 stages that you have the alarm where you're fight or flight, like what do I do? Do I run? Do I whatever? Resistance, that you're trying to cope with whatever it is that's stressing you out, and then exhaustion, that you can't deal with it anymore. All right, so first we're going to talk about psychological reactions. Sorry, I'm laughing at the turtle. I can't help myself. There's a kid in class. He just keeps talking about turtles. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. All right, so short-term psychological reactions, and these are normal: to be anxious, to be angry, to be fearful, to not be able to concentrate, to be forgetful, to be suspicious. Long-term, though, can contribute to mental illness. So you could, get an anxiety disorder, like troops that are at war with a post-traumatic stress disorder, getting depression, like, potentially, becoming bipolar. Now, obviously, that's, a major thing, and does that normally happen? No, and it has to be a major stressor, but yeah, you can have a psychological disorder, specifically one that follows a major life change. Some behavioral reactions. Short term, there's definitely some negative things. Nervous habits, like the kids that are tapping their pens all the time, or their feet or whatever. Smoking or drinking more, feeling tired. And you'll notice people that their posture changes. They're kind of slumping in their seat. Losing interest in eating or grooming, and just generally taking care of themselves. And so this is like my favorite picture that I found. This guy obviously is under a lot of stress. I also think that afterwards he maybe just keeled over from cancer. I don't know. And then there are positive, behavioral reactions, like pushing yourself to do things, whether it's saving someone or work together with people you normally wouldn't work together with. like the Avengers. Oh my gosh, so good. And then there's long-term things. Now, again, you're going to notice long-term is always bad, to be stressed long-term. And this is when escapist personality styles start to happen, where you can't cope with being in your situation, so you turn to alcohol or drugs or something to dull the pain. You can't keep down a job. You're thinking about committing suicide. You might be committing criminal behavior. Physical reactions, and these are things that we actually really see a lot of constantly. You know, I definitely know that I see kids that, you know, I could tell when they're stressed and they start missing a lot of school. So short term, we're going to talk about some of the short term ones, but generally it's not good to have prolonged. You know, you should be stressed for a little while, which is normal, but you can't have it long term. Long-term causes major illnesses, such as ulcers. And remember, we were talking about ulcers with the thing that we were watching, Stress, Portrait of a Killer. High blood pressure, arthritis, asthma, heart disease. They've even linked your ability to survive cancer to stress. So when we look at this picture, you know, here it is. It's talking about, you know, the brain, and nerves, obviously. Headaches, you know I get headaches when I'm really nervous or stressed out. My eye even starts twitching. Feelings of despair, lack of energy, sadness, nervousness. Some people break out. My dad actually gets hives when he's really nervous. Muscles and joints, that you just have pain and tension, especially in your neck, shoulders, and back. Heart. Your heart starts racing, raising blood pressure, increased risk of high cholesterol and heart attack. Now, by the way, later on when we get to panic disorders, when we do abnormal psych, you know, we'll talk about some of these things with panic attacks. Stomach, nausea, you know I've had that too, where, you know, I feel nauseous when I'm really nervous about things. Increased risk of diabetes, gotta love these, diarrhea, constipation, and other digestive problems. Definitely there are issues for both guys and girls in terms of stress, that you might have more painful menstrual cycle, or reduced sexual desire. For men, impotence. Look it up if you don't know what it means. I'm not telling you. Lower sperm production, reduced sexual desire, and just in general, you might not be able to fight off illness as well when you're stressed. And that's why, you know, a lot of times people get sick, you know, around prom or something, because they're just so stressed out over everything. Why do we react differently? Why is it that, you know, somebody might get a stomach ache and somebody else, you know, might, I don't know, have the stress long term and maybe, you know, develop some sort of disorder? Basically, some of it is just our personality differences. If you're a type A personality, you kind of take things to heart more. Personality is our next topic that we're going to be talking about, so kind of fold that away for now. Whether or not, and this was with the whole internal and external locus of control, how much you perceive that you have control over your stressors. If you think everything is just totally, the world is deciding what your life is going to be like, then you're going to be pretty stressed all the time, because you're going to think you don't have a lot of control over it. And how much support you have. Do you have friends and family, people to talk to you and to care about you? And then the amount of stress. So what might stress me out on one day, when everything is going wrong, then I'm going to be like crazy woman, as some of you might have experienced. Whereas, you know, that same thing on a day when everything's going great might not do very much to me. All right, guys, well, that's the end of our second part of, of stress and conflict. Come back next time when we talk about coping and I learn how to talk like a human being.